Come on.
Okay, throw it in there.
Okay,
I was going off the dome, man. Like, you know, like before they made YouTube, they used to call me, and I fell back.
Son.
And I saw your list last night. You had that Nelly sweat suit, right?
No, I had to plan, but I get
Now,
it.
you're gonna have females come up in there a whole lot too.
What?
Well, we'll play a card in and see.
So we finna go ahead and start this out the right way.
Let's see now.
I can definitely hear you over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it should be louder. All right, so now the sound should be back up and rolling. Okay, can y'all hear me better this time? Gotta love the wonderful world of technology and 2 earthquakes in one day, right? You can tell when the devil don't want you to have a conversation, ain't it? Jesus, boy.
I like that one.
Ooh-wee. All right, so let me know if you can hear us now, because when I tell you I'm about to have this conversation, I'm about to have this conversation.
Ooh, that ripping out your head with that one.
I'm trying to tell you, you can tell when the devil don't want you to have a conversation today.
The devil don't you.
Bars.
All right, perfect. So, what better day than to shut the microphones down when you want to shut down our voices? And what better way than to shut down your voice and to talk about voting? Voting and Black people voting. We showed up and showed out during the civil rights. We showed up and showed out during Obama's time, but we have died down. And now in a season where we've been quiet for so long, when you turn around and look up and see what's going on right now, major laws are being overturned right before our eyes, and it's being done by the same people that we didn't think it was important enough to go and make sure did not get voted in. What we do not realize with Roe versus Wade is that when they overturned it in certain states will no longer permit you to go in and have abortions done, it's going to make you have to go out to travel. It's also going to make people start doing some tad bit illegal things, which will also increase the amount of Black women that are incarcerated, or women in general that are incarcerated, because they are going to attempt to do things because of affordability, the inability to go travel and make decisions that at one time we could. And I'm not saying that we're in a position right now where we should be running to do different things, but what you do in your house should be your right and your business, because you got to live with it, you got to pay for it, you got to handle it. On that note, since the devil ain't want me to say nothing, I'm talking today.
Before you continue, we got to read this letter and still saying they can't hit. It's all good.
I'm about to say, I don't know how we're going to do. I have to run it again.
No. I'm talking about, we'll fix it anyways.
But
please continue.
We are going to roll into Black votes and Black voters matter when we have Alonzo and Jazz with us from Basic. And they are going to educate us on why it is important for us to vote and what we are missing out on when we don't vote.
Ladies first.
Oh.
Introduce yourself.
All right, well, my name is Jazz Johnson. I am a community organizer, strategist, just political, as they say. So I do a lot of work in the community, trying to, build power and bring change. And that's my fiance, Alonzo. You can go ahead.
And like she said, I'm her fiance, Alonzo Canzater. I'm a community organizer, a minister, and just somebody that cares for our people.
So cut into it and shoot it to us straight.
Yeah.
This thing with Black voters.
Well, first of all, what does Basic stand for?
Tell us what Basic stands for.
Yeah, I can do that too. So Basic, like I said, I'm a co-founder and Alonzo is as well. And Basic stands for Brothers and Sisters Improving Communities. And pretty much it came from just having an understanding that we need to kind of go back to the basics when it comes to building power and changing our communities. So having conversations just like this is so needed.
Conversation that suits you.
Yes. I love it. I love it. So, having conversations like this is so vital because we have so many people out here who are just like you said, we're here to educate. I like to say inform because I feel like people are educated. They're just not informed. Right. You get what I'm saying? That's like all of us at this table are educated. We're just not informed on some really important issues. And I feel like that's where, personally, and factually it is, where we come up short with low voter turnout. There's low voter turnout because there's no information being disseminated, right? And so we don't have enough of that on top of enough of the people who we are supposed to vote for having conversations with us. Then that's pretty much the recipe for what we got yesterday and 2 weeks ago.
Elaborate on what we got yesterday and 2 weeks ago.
Very low turnout. We had maybe 16% It was around 16% voter turnout
16%.
Across the state. So I'm gonna give you a rough number. So 3 million plus registered voters in the state. Only maybe 300, 400,000 of them or whatever voted, if that makes sense. Like that's the significant difference, if you could kind of picture it. And so people just stayed home. And I want to say this, and I'm going to swing it to Zoe. We can't be mad at folks for staying home because guess what? The folks that we hired when we go vote, they didn't do their job. Just go around and they don't do it a lot of times when people are running. And so I say that, you know, when we're talking to folks who don't vote, we have to change our response and be more understanding to it's understandable that they do not vote. You get if that makes sense? Like, I can understand that, but let's talk about how voting will help us build power because it's only one tool is voting, you know, because after we vote, then we got to hold them accountable,
Right.
you know, and things like that. So there's a lot to it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so even what she said, but when it comes back to basic too, basic is pretty much, like I said, taking it back to the basic. And what's the basic? Building relationships with the community. With no contact, no impact. So even when it comes to voting, a lot of people that's running, they want the people to come vote for them. But just like when it comes to basic, we believe if you don't have the trust with the community, like that's why I say building a relationship, because you know once you build a relationship, you build trust, and then people open up. So even when basic came, when we got the vision, it was because we saw that churches and politicians thought they knew what the community needed.
Right.
But they didn't because they didn't build that relationship with the community. So they go in, you know, bounce houses, cookouts, and stuff like that. But they like, yo, we don't need that.
Right.
My light's about to be turned off tomorrow.
How can you
know, I'm battling this. I'm battling.
I got mental health issues.
Health issues. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
I don't.
We hear that. Like
I get $1,000 food stamp. You know what I mean? Like
I don't need
no
food.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I
real.
mean?
You're not being funny.
So,
Okay.
I was thinking of McDonald's and
Yeah.
everybody's watching about the food stamps.
So it's
Well,
like-
but it's true. We hear
Right.
that from mothers.
Well, what made y'all want to get into this from the beginning? It was just a relationship with the community, or was it like
But
'Cause I was
basic or
telling-
organizing?
both?
Organizing.
Actually, both with basic and the organizing. Because I ain't gonna sit here lie to y'all. My first time voting was for Obama, and 'cause I was one of the people who were like, man, my vote don't count. It ain't gonna
Yeah.
change shit.
Right, right.
So what made y'all want to get into it to
That's a good point, bro.
get people
A lot
out
of
there
people like
wanting
that.
to vote?
Yeah.
So even with me, like I said, I'm from the streets, so I was one of the ones that I voted for Obama because everybody said vote for him because he's black.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I didn't know anything about him. I just voted for him because he was black. But after Obama, I didn't vote anymore. So 2019, I had a friend of mine who was like, because I was already doing ministry, outreach ministry in the community. So I just wasn't pushing vote. I was pushing Jesus. You know what I mean? Get
It's also a
saved.
good thing to push.
Yeah, all the time. So
We do
he
that
pretty
too.
much, he was like, bro, you know what? I said you can get paid for what you already doing. So he had, it was a campaign, presidential campaign with Tom Steyer, who was running for president. And so first what I did, I researched him first to make sure I wasn't getting behind the Antichrist. You know what I mean? Someone that,
That's real.
and then I had to make sure, see his track record of what he had done for our community already. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, he,
Come on, baby.
He's for the people.
Perfect.
So
That's
I was
my
like, bro,
fiance.
where I sign up at?
Don't it
Once-
feel good when they educated?
Once I got on the campaign,
Okay, he be listening.
it kind of opened my mind. I was like, yo, okay, I see why like I'm from one end of North Main look like this and one end of North Main look like this. So when I would go on Humphrey Street behind Columbia Mall, if you know that area, Shakespeare, that didn't look like that for decades, right?
Mhm.
Nothing new.
And for decades, the voter turnout has been low.
Yeah, so I was like,
So,
oh,
it
wow,
goes hand
I
in
get it
hand.
now. See, people up here know where their power at. Sand Hills, they know where their power is and they
Lexington.
vote. Lexington, so they could, and then they fill out their census. So they continue,
That's huge.
Census,
That's very
thank
much
you,
so,
honey.
yes. Yes,
Thank
that's
you for
huge.
saying that.
so they continue building this end
That's
up
real.
while the majority of African Americans we like our vote don't matter, and that's what they want us to think like that.
So they can
Because
keep
if
control.
we like our vote don't matter, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes when they dishing this money out. So that got me pretty much like, whoa, I get it now. I need to tell more people about why it's so important for us to vote, and our vote do matter. And once we organize, strategize, and mobilize, like they are made to serve us as the people. They serve us. It's like law enforcement. Their job is to protect and serve us as a people.
I won't lie to y'all. When I researched voting stuff today to discuss and go through what I read and what I knew, today pissed me off. Roe versus Wade pissed me off, but it wasn't so much as the overturning it, because how you handle things was your business. The part that they kept emphasizing that it was going to really hit poor Black people, poor Black women.
It's gonna make
because they capitalized on our inabilities and our ignorance. That we don't know how to travel to take care of certain things or know how to have preventative services. But the bigger piece of it was they've been warning us about this since Hillary Clinton was trying to run. And then they put the emails in our faces. And it made me realize we are in a cheap mindset when it comes to different things that we should not be. We follow what the masses is, but we don't understand what we're following. Like they posted today about the disaster that happened. And I was like, what disaster happened with the superintendent situation? The lady who doesn't have her master's, that's supposed to have it by November.
She's taking the classes.
If she gets her master's between July and November,
6 months.
that's a bad something. But you are prepping her, and they're going to help and make sure she has what she needs to have. And we're not going to be out there to vote enough for it.
Because we need to be doing the same thing. We need to be prepping candidates as well. We could prep you to run. We could prep you to run. That's real though. I bet that you may have a more sincere care for the community than some of the folks that's on the ballot right now. I can say that very confidently. And so like that's part of the problem right now is that we are letting people just wake up one day and be like, I want to run for office. I want to be a politician.
And they groom them. They build them to be. We won't do it. We're so busy going. I'm not going to help you.
Side, they groom them. Yeah.
They groom them. They're really going to help this woman get her master's by
just
November,
so that she can get
in.
Right. But you know, someone told me I was talking to Dr. Uber, and he was saying I was telling a friend of mine. I said, bro, like Jazz just said, if we want to get you in office, we often organize, strategize, mobilize behind you to get you in there. But then we have to put the money up behind the funds. You know what I mean? So a lot of times that's where the stumbling block comes at, is when it comes to the funds. So even if we talking about on the other side, they got the money. They got the people behind them that say, yo, we'll put $100,000 behind your campaign.
$100 million.
But see, even in our community,
sure will.
We won't even put $100,000 behind a kid that's good in basketball and need the money to go to college.
That's true.
We won't come
put the city
and
on.
put that dollar together.
You know?
Because like, he got potential.
You know what I mean?
Well, we got to put $100,000 behind him so he can go to a good college and make it to the NBA. No, we'll wait till that person go to the NBA and be like, he from our hood.
I mean, that's
You know what I mean?
And then you try to put some.
Yeah.
Two questions over here. Like I was saying, I voted the first time was for Obama. That's in November. Hold on, that was my first time. But ever since then, every November, 2 year, 4 year, I make sure I'm in there.
Right.
Today, yesterday was 28, right? And then last week, in the middle of summer, I knew nothing about this primary runoff.
Right.
Where do I get that information to even know about runoffs for people I'm going to vote for in November?
Yeah.
Good question.
And y'all just talking about the funds, these $100,000 funds, and they had these fundraiser dinners, $10,000 a plate. I'm not going nowhere paying $10,000 a plate, but these are the people. So what makes me think that my votes don't matter any more than her paying $10,000 per plate? And I'm like, man, I'm just going over here to Wildlands right quick. I'm gonna get this.
It's almost scary to hear that because
it's the people who got the money that's gonna get them in there.
They started prepping this crap in March.
Yes.
And the dance has been, but they don't advertise it and put it in our face to let us know. So by the time we find out, stuff had already popped off.
It's already popped off.
But they've already, it's chess, not checkers, and they play
But it
Quiet.
wasn't in our face though.
but
Yeah,
It
we
really
didn't.
put
We
it in
weren't
our
showing
face
up.
when she said, if y'all elect Trump, he's gonna appoint 3 judges, and a
yes,
lot of stuff is gonna get turned over. And that's
Yes.
exactly what fucking happened.
yes,
She put it in our Facebook,
she did.
but then they distracted, like you said, with the emails. Let us read your emails. Man, them emails ain't got shit y'all really want to
Yeah,
read.
'cause I'm
See,
still
the-
putting emails.
Then people got wrapped up in the notion of I'm voting for the lesser or the greater evil.
Oh,
All right,
did.
and I want to go back on the Obama thing. Like,
Jazz had one a moment. She
No, go ahead.
You hit her when you said something.
Oh, every
did I
time you
say?
say
I'm
Obama,
sorry.
y'all hit me because I work for Obama. So every time you say Obama, I
Was
get
that not a
excited.
good vote?
That was great. I worked for them. No,
No,
that's how I started.
Twice.
I don't want to cut you off. I want to cut you off. But yeah, no, go ahead.
I don't want to say I was just deep into politics, but at the same time, like to find out who he was when he filled in for that speech, and for my wife to point me to this guy, it's like this guy here is gonna be. It wasn't nothing to raise my eyebrow. Then when you start hearing the buzz and when he put his name in the hat, of course, cool. But although I wanted to vote for the black guy, I can't say honestly as a black guy that Kane had some greater points than Obama. It's just that Obama was the black guy. He had greater points that I needed that were more beneficial to me and my community. So I don't want nobody to become sheeple, and that's what our community are. And that's what you're saying. They're going with the popular vote. They're going with the popular thing and not necessarily reading the rules. It's like when you get this new subscription for your phone and they just want you to scroll down and hit agree. That's basically what we're doing. How do we shift that from being knowledgeable about people in our community, such as us as individuals? I think we as people, it's our duty to relate this information back to our community. Our politicians are supposed to be head of that to push that. Is that the disconnect? The politicians basically getting the votes and just falling back, not falling in love with the community, but with the title?
Break it
That's
down
right.
for us, Jazz. How the hell
That's
did we let
right.
that boy Alvin get in the office and he had a limousine down in his mama's house? Run the beat back.
I would agree.
Listen, it's
That was crazy. I remember that. I would agree, gave everybody hope. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. And what was your question again? I'm sorry.
Like, what's the disconnect once the community that doesn't get this information or get the disconnect from the politician to represent them in that community?
And so what I always say to that is that we have to start voting with our head and not our hearts. And so we have to start really looking at the issues and like fall in love with those, right? Instead of falling in love with individuals. And so, you know, when someone comes to your face, okay, hey, nice to meet you. Great. So what have you done? And then what have you done for me lately? You know, like asking those questions. Because I think that a lot of voters feel like politicians are superior when it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Because we control everything. We hire and we fire. You get what I'm saying? All we have to do, even us, all we have to do is decide, like, you know what? We don't like this representative or whoever. We want them out. Let's get enough people to, you know, go vote on this day, and we're going to make sure they get out. All we have to do is just make sure enough people go vote. And in all honesty, that's not hard. Well, I'm not going to say it's not hard. It is very hard, but it's work that a lot of folks are not willing. They're not willing to do. Even the candidates.
That's what it is.
Even the candidates. And
That's
so
what it is.
with Zoe, and so going back to like how I got into this, I started when I was 17. So I've been doing this for 14, 15 years now, like right out of high school. I worked for Obama. And so it's a lot of the time we're not having these conversations with folks like when we do mentoring, 15, 13, they need to start knowing about what voting is. 5, 6, they need to be going to the polls with you, figuring out like, you know, what are you doing and why?
Right.
And then, but we also have to make sure we are not only seeking the information, but making sure we're demanding folks to give us the information as well, so that we can make
You have to.
better decisions about what we're
Because
gonna do.
voting is not just about, so I learned some stuff. It's not just about the president. It's not just about picking the governor and the mayor.
Local
No.
When you
education.
get mad that your
Education,
person,
school board.
education's a big one.
School
Or
board.
you get mad that somebody goes to court and then the book gets thrown at them and you're wondering about those laws and
Yeah.
how unfair these things are. Those,
Or you don't like what your kids get fed at school, vote.
I told
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's simple things like that.
I said, if you don't think that your vote matter and it's not important, when you catch a felon, what's the first right they take away from you
you're right to
when
vote.
you get out of prison and you're on probation and parole?
You're right to vote.
Your right to vote. So you won't be able to. I was on probation for 5 years, and I wasn't able to vote until I got that paperwork, because that's how important it is. They know it's important. We're going to take this right. We're not going to take your right from you to get a driver license. We're not going to take your rights from you to get a house. No, we're going to take your
CDL or
rights away from you to vote.
Right.
It's a reason why.
It's the reason why the two things we couldn't do
It's
were
power to
read
vote.
and vote.
Yeah.
The two fights that you see people say is reading and vote. Reading would get you killed, and they died trying to vote.
The greatest trick a politician ever pulled was having them think that they had the power over the people. The people need to understand the power's in the people. I don't care if you got $30 million.
Still pulling.
Yeah. But if you got $30 million and you got a alliance and constituency of 100,000, that's peanuts if everybody play their part. You see what I'm saying? So we need to understand where we can deal with less. Big things take place, or small things are in place. So these local leaders, the local politicians, they need to be in position to make these big decisions. But it has to start internally. So that's it's hard to get the community involved and not think that you're pulling something over their head. Because so many people, you gotta understand too, like, how do you feel? I know you're in the hip hop. How do you feel about the influence of hip hop altering your thought process of who you're voting with? Because they're no, I'm saying
no, it's the fact.
You remember Puffy Vote or Die? Like my whole thing is like.
So I was talking to just not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Earlier, setting up, and when I was promoting this, the two songs that I picked today was by Yellow Pants. He talks about the importance of voting and why you think your vote don't matter. If you listen to that song, he explains all three levels of the justice system. I mean, everything. He explains it. That's the hip hop that nobody's listening to.
That's the hip hop they're not promoting. And I'm agreeing with you, but what I'm saying is how much of an influence that somebody that sold 10 million, like they got Lil Wayne on Sports Center talking about them in Ukraine. How he gonna solve Ukraine? He can't get out the damn deal with cash money. But it's a popularity contest, and you got to be careful how they pull it too hard. You see what I'm saying? So they're getting what's popular, put it in your face, and then you see them on a commercial, you see them on YouTube, and you thinking like it must be right because it's all over the place.
Because they weren't who you listen to.
See, what they do is, that's why I said when it comes to like our organization, taking it back to the basics. So even when you talk to some of these people who some look like us, some don't, they really afraid of our people. You know what I mean? So they don't really come in the communities like that. So they can find someone that our people idolize. That's why Trump gets somebody like Lil Wayne, Kanye West, because they know they are African-American idols. So if Lil Wayne talking about vote for Trump, if Kanye talking about vote for Trump, then they followers 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be like Donald Trump for president.
They did that with Obama.
I get that.
They did that with Obama.
They
did that.
Kamala did that too, and we haven't heard her voice since
I get that.
She was on the news just the other day.
We're outlining that. What I'm saying is, how much can you fault society for us being a microwave society and allow machines to think for you, and you just seeing the solution, and you just go with it? Like, how much is that? Because it's hard to pick up a paper when you think information is convenient, but knowledge you got to search for.
I learned during the mayoral election, I was like boots on the ground, and that was the most emotional campaign I ever. Where Jazz was calling me, I'm like, as a man, I wanted to just sit down and just cry.
Yeah.
Because you in these communities, I'm canvassing in these communities where the playground set is like the size of that corner. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but y'all sitting here chilling on the porch, smoking a cigarette or whatever, but y'all need to get to the polls. They about to close. And I'm talking to some of the residents, and they moving them out of their neighborhoods because they about to knock them down. And I'm trying to tell them, like, this is why you have to vote. This is where you use your voice at. But at the same time, too, the elders was tired too.
Keep going.
And I was realizing that the people, it was so emotional because the people, like, they're tired of being lied to.
Yeah.
They're tired of people making promises. They're tired of people just coming around during election time. You don't see them. And people know in Columbia when it's election time because you start seeing signs and you start seeing people come, hey, I'm such and such. And they pop up at all these events. But why don't you do that 365? So even with Basic and Black Voters Matter, we boots on the ground 365. Like, that's why even I tell people, I be hearing a lot of people talking about organizations this, and I'm gonna just say this, put it on the table. And they talking about community leaders. I don't know nobody that beat boots on the ground more than me and Jazz. Like, I'm talking about, we in the schools, we in the prisons, we are from ministry to whatever, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, a lot of politicians be hitting us up because they want to around election time, and we like, nah.
Photo perks.
Yeah.
Like, nah. Can we speak at y'all event? Nah.
There are a few, and he's right, because there are only a few folks that we rock with, like Jermaine Johnson, but
Yeah,
that's
Jermaine
because
100.
he's boots on the ground. Like,
Yeah.
he's an elected official, but he got a pass with us because he don't come and do like campaign stuff. You get what I'm saying? But because he has a message outside of campaigning, outside of being a politician, because guess what? He's talking about the issues. So he's a perfect example of what we need to be looking for when we're voting. No, he's not a career politician or somebody, like I said earlier, just, or who's wanted to be a politician since they were a kid. Honestly, that creeps me out, to be honest. If you really want to be a politician since you were young, that's kind of weird, because that's a tough job. It's just not something like nursing, if that makes sense. So I feel like it's something that you need to fall into, that people should ask you to do, you know what I mean? Because they see you're in the community, right? It should be something that, like you said, it's elected. But when you just put yourself out there and then you want people to vote for you, but you don't even do anything in between those two things, you set yourself up for failure. And you set us up for failure, because you're taking up the opportunity for someone valuable to have that spot. And that person might have fewer degrees. That person might, not look the part, or whatever the case may be, but it doesn't matter. Again, going back to it, we have to identify who these people are. Like,
of progression.
Yeah.
So coming in November, because the runoff has already happened, we've already gone through the March, the June, and now November is our next battle.
That is the next one, right? So
That is the next one. November the 8th is the next one.
Everything in between.
But November the 8th is a big next one, because you got U.S. Senates.
Yeah.
You
US
got
House.
You have House.
Governor. Tuesday. The governor's race, you have state executive, state house, state legislators, you have school board, like superintendent of education. I believe
That's the Ellis thing we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Superintendent. Lisa Ellis is the Democrat nominee for superintendent of education. Ellen Weaver
is the one that's getting the masters.
Yeah, I believe so, for superintendent. And so this is education. Again, this is superintendent of education. So the person who makes all the decisions for all the schools in the state of South Carolina. If you have kids, there's no way you don't want to be a part of that decision process, right? Like, no matter how you feel about voting, you care about your kids, so that's where I say we got to find something to tie back to folks to be like, oh, okay, well, no, I don't care about all of that, but I do care about my kids. Okay, boom, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how this affects your kids. Let's talk about how this candidate wants to take your money away for your benefits. This person wants to give unhealthy options in, your kids' lunch or whatever. You get what I mean? So it's like, we got to find what it is. Like he said, like, it's not always food. It's not always, that's not always the thing.
Go through that list again, Jazz. What we voting for this year?
Governor, U.S. Senate, House.
Our governor right now, excuse, I didn't mean to cut you off, is McMaster, right?
Our governor is McMaster. Yes.
You need somebody to get him up out of there.
Yes, we do. And right now, our option is Joe Cunningham. And I can say names because we've already been through the primary. I have a Black Voters Matter shirt on. We're nonpartisan. Basic is and Black Voters Matter.
So wait a minute,
we're
you're not
nonpartisan.
Say names before today?
No, well, because we can't push. Yeah, we don't push candidates. Okay. But I can say now because the people have spoken, if that makes sense. So, but even with BVM, they have like a C4 side. So if there's a really good candidate, like a Black candidate who the community's like, we want them, BVM will come in there and be like, here's some resources, here's some things to help y'all push this candidate further. And I can go on about BVM. They are the best. They're a national organization, and that's pretty much what they do. They find local infrastructure that's already in place and they push resources to them so that they can continue doing the work that they're already doing.
So some of those people that y'all just mentioned, governor, U.S. Senate, the different things we're voting for, we just talked about their importance because superintendent, people are not informed. The U.S. Senate, I know that, is it Tim that's in there right now?
Yes, Tim Scott.
The lady that's going against him
and
now.
Crystal Matthews.
Yes. What's the importance of that role, that place in the Senate?
I mean, it's huge. If you look at just the way that Tim Scott has been spending, the choices that he makes. I mean, he sides with McMaster with just about everything. So all of the things that McMaster was able to pass, it was because he was able to get support from folks in those seats. So if you haven't liked the way South Carolina has been the past few years, well, not few years, it's been a while since McMaster has been in there. But I mean, in all honesty, that's what made me come home. I was gone for a long time, but when I came back home and saw like the conditions that South Carolina was in our communities, like I was like, oh goodness, like we got work to do. And it's not even going to be like a 2-year, 3-year plan. It's like a 10, 15 year type of thing. And I always tell him, like, we deciding we're going to stay, right? Because it's work to be done. Because if not, we're going to, get it out of Dodge.
I appreciate that.
But it's a lot of work. And like I said, all of those races are local. So I don't care how minute the issue is. It's more, even as minute the issue may be, the impact that it has on your life is way bigger than anything the president can do besides Trump giving checks.
Right.
You get what I mean? As far as the direct, as far as like as far as you feeling it, if that makes sense, because a lot of people even think Obama didn't do anything because they feel like they didn't directly, feel it, but he did things, right? You know what I mean? He did some good. He could have done more, it's.
That's why even like with that Yellow Pain song.
Yeah, my vote don't count.
He was educating people on the roles and the positions,
what they do,
duties of each position.
Mm-hmm.
So even when it comes to our community, we might know about the governor, the mayor, the local election, but we don't. People are not informed on what are their duties. So people put everything on the president,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't know. The president just sign off on stuff.
Yeah, he just set up a Congress.
Yeah, he just the face. He don't got no say so.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's people over him. You know what I mean? So even when it comes to the local, like the mayor got somebody over him.
Right.
That's what I kind of wanted to talk about.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, when we was boots on the ground, we did a card that had the branches and their duties to inform people. See, not only is it the voting thing, a lot of things talking about that we run across, a lot of people not registered to vote. Like during the mayor's election, I went to Benedict College. Because see, with COVID, before COVID at Benedict Allen, they used to do a registration drive at the beginning of school.
It was organized.
But then during COVID, they stopped doing it. So when I went to Benedict during the mayor's election, 98.7 of the kids wasn't even registered.
Yeah.
That's pretty much.
And when you think about it, when we got that's between Allen and
you
Benedict.
think about it, everybody graduated.
But when you think about it, Benjamin became mayor because of those two schools.
Ooh.
You feel me?
Lay on that. Elaborate.
Because that's we talking about black colleges. That's pretty much like the heart of Columbia, Benedict and Allen, and who got a bunch of students.
And if they're registered, they hold a lot of power right
that's
there.
A lot of voters.
Yeah.
So they won't have to not only to see even. I'll tell you one thing I learned: like if they can't lean on the community, they're gonna have to lean on the colleges and the majority of black churches to really get those votes. Because in our community, like if you go into like the colonies, the bishop, majority like housing, those were most of the people was not registered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we had to learn, like, we got to go to registration drive. If you wait too late, and the people who you can be like, yo, we go around the neighborhood with a van, they're like, yo, I go vote, bro, I go vote. Then you look up on, let me see you registered. Bro, you ain't even registered. Oh, can y'all register me now? Nah, it's the deadline, bro.
Right.
We can register you now. You can probably vote in the next election, but you can't vote now. So that was a lot of, that was a stumbling block too in our community.
Yeah, that's what slowed down a lot of the votes.
Especially a lot of the males that pretty much, a lot of the males, and then they believe, oh, I got a felon, I can't vote. So when we went in the bishop, I'm like, bro, be transparent, I'm a 2-time felon. You feel me? Like, bro, if you on probation or parole, you can't vote. But once you get off those papers, you're free. You're free.
Oh.
You feel me? That's why at the end of the day, they look at it like I said, once you get on the papers, that's the first right they take away from you.
Right.
But now you done paid your debt to society. Now you're a free man. Now you get your rights back to vote. So I be trying to tell them that, because a lot of people will sit there like, because they believe they got felons, they can't vote. I'm like, nah, bro, it's a lie. You can vote. As long as you're not on those papers, you can vote.
Awesome.
That's information
Jazz,
people
what
don't
is
even
that?
know, bro. That's stuff
Carolina
that cats don't know.
Comptroller.
So I know I can go out here and Google the hierarchy of how the state is run from McMaster's to Lindsey Graham. What's the official place to get this information? Because if I go on Google, it's gonna pull up 100 sites. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would suggest going to scvotes.gov or going to Black Voters Matter Fund. I want to say it's org. Yeah. Black Voters Matter Fund.org, and they have like a toolkit. They have a toolkit. Yeah. They have like a toolkit, but then they also have how you can get involved. Text It's On Us SC to 25225. Just saying.
Nice plug. I like it.
Make sure you follow because it keeps you involved with not only the elections but events, community things, all things important that are important to us building power in the state of South Carolina. But I would definitely visit Black Voters Matter Fund.org.
Also go online and take a look at your sample ballot. Jazz and I were just looking at the sample ballot for my address because I was curious about some of the things that I hadn't seen before. I mean, we talked about the Senate just now, but you also have the U.S. House of South Carolina District 2. That's in my area because I'm over in the Blythewood area.
And that's Joe Wilson, the guy who told Obama, "You lie." Just saying.
You did say that, didn't you?
No, that's him. He's in it. Joe Wilson is
the
the guy who yelled at Obama. So there's someone running to unseat him.
President.
Yeah, but there's someone running to unseat him, and that's a really important seat.
That's Judd right there we have, right? Judd Larkins.
Judd Larkins is running against him, and he is great. Please look him up.
You got the governor, you got the lieutenant governor, which there's nobody running against him on this one. You got the attorney general of South Carolina with nobody running against him.
So in those instances where there's nobody running against him, you don't have to cast a vote, right? You can leave that blank.
Yeah, they're in the
People think
comments.
just because there's only one name, you have to choose this one. You don't have to do that.
No,
But it's not. Is it really gonna matter? Because I mean, nobody.
there's nobody running against him. Yeah, and then there's no term limits and stuff like that. There's no term limits, and pretty much sometimes what that means is that nobody sought to run after. You get what I mean? They just keep their position because we don't have term limits.
There's
People can just sit in their seats for decades.
Because nobody's
except for the president.
Nobody
Except the president. I'm sorry. I'm like local, like city council, county council, 15, 20, 30. We got folks near Booker T. Washington who's been on city council for 30 and 40 years. Just imagine someone being in leadership that long and everything's still looking the same. Think of that.
I mean, it's quite a bit. You got the South Carolina Secretary of State. So
Mark
Mark Hammond does have somebody running up against him.
And that's because they don't, like Jazz was saying, like people in city council that have been in the Booker T. Washington area, because they don't need that many votes. Like, what is like 300 votes?
They can keep it. They can keep their seats easier. No, I mean, it's different for each precinct, each area.
I know someone said
Each
they
county.
like need 200-300 votes.
Yeah, smaller areas.
They got
to stay.
people. They didn't build that relationship with 200 or 300 people that'd be like, you got my vote, and nobody else going to vote.
Cover.
Or they just only focus on the people that vote. This is another thing that I want to say.
Yeah.
I don't like I'm always in the one in the room because like I said, I'm a strategist, right? And so I'm usually the one in the room that's trying to get people to not stick with what they're used to, right? Or like, oh, it's always been low turnout, so it's going to be low turnout again. I'm the person that's like, well, then what do you do to increase the turnout? You get what I mean? Like, why are we just accepting what's been for decades, instead of coming up with a strategy and a plan to make sure more booties go to the polls?
It's easy to just sit back and accept, though, instead of
I think so.
stepping up.
And so then they just try to only focus on people who are, frequent voters, And so to me, that's energy that needs to be put into voters who are not registered, people who need to have those conversations, who feel like my vote doesn't count. That's where our energy should be, not somewhere where you have somebody who votes every election, midterm, local. They go out for special elections. Like, there should be I'm not going to say no attention given to them, but at the end of the day, we already know that they're going to go cast their ballot. Like, put in that work, use that work to break down another layer of the wall. Because like I was saying earlier, like, not denying that it's hard work. What we do, it is hard, but I love it, so it doesn't feel hard. That's why I had to kind of take that back. It doesn't feel like work to us or to me.
Because we're passionate about it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
The only thing else I'm passionate about is Jesus and cooking and my honey. But when it comes to people, I love you. But that's real though. Like, we just gotta, it's just conversations that we just have to start having. Taking our kids to vote, like we have sweet 16s and all this kind of stuff, and they turn 17. We need to be getting them registered. Like we need to make a thing of it. Like
So
you said, they make
what
everything
popped off
a fad.
in Georgia with Stacy when
Oh,
they
I
went
love me
out
some
and they
Stacey
hit
Gator.
the ground running. I mean, we can sit. So
That's
my
it.
thing is, and a lot of stuff, and even on here today, we can go in circles
Yeah.
about what got us here, what led us here,
Yeah.
who didn't jump, who didn't breathe, who's the influence, who's the run. But we watched in Georgia, Stacy and them got on the ground, and I mean, I don't know if she was actually the one doing it, but a lot of them rocked it to where Georgia did something they had never done before.
Because Stacey is, I'm not gonna compare myself to Stacey, but Stacey is somebody who's gonna be like, but what we gonna do different? That's why.
it.
That is why Stacey has been able to break, or what I say, shatter ceilings and break down all these things that, you know, she's been able to do, is because she's not willing to accept the norm or what's been, if that makes sense. And we need to have more people who are like that. Because in all honesty, we have a lot of folks who call themselves organizers and say that they're for the people. But, you know, going back to that, they're really not willing to put in the work. They just want to like say that they did it, you know what I mean? Or just like get a couple pictures, you know, go live a couple times and things like that. But are you really willing to put in work for 5 years in this community? And one of the things that I think about with that, it kind of goes back to ministry. One of Zoe's mentors, and he's kind of one of mine too, Sinclair Salters. He says with their group is, I know you'll talk to a man for 20 minutes, but will you walk with them for 20 years? And so I kind of use that as well in the community. It's like, okay, politicians and whoever else, you know, you'll come on my doorstep, have a quick 10, 15-minute conversation, but will you, you know, will I know you until my child graduates school? And, you know, you're going to be following and making sure like the school that my child goes to is up to par, because we got a relationship. So therefore you're supposed to care about me, right? So you need to care about my well-being. And yeah, and so that standard has to be set, and it has to be set by us.
That's the part. That's the dirty part. You know, that's when people really don't like that part, because it's going to take a lot of your time.
That's right.
It's a lot of sweat. It's when you got to go, hey, a lot of nights, hey, I'm just calling, want to get a bite to eat. You know what I mean? Like, that's the dirty part where a lot of people just feel like,
it's a lot.
I don't do all that.
It's easier till it's done. Like some people shoot the breeze about it. When you're in there trying to be about it, it's so totally different. The whole thing is, a lot of people in the community need to know that these people who are doing these things are doing it from a point of passion.
That's right.
Like I myself, who was born in the city, I understand free lunch, so it's nothing to get free lunch. But at the same time, like even the Kicking It Dads this year, Ian brought up, he's like, well, bro, what are we gonna do? We don't want to just be a big ass cookout, which made perfect sense. So we gotta get y'all out there. We gotta get people to
Y'all will
vote.
definitely be out there.
We gotta get.
We're requesting, not demanding.
We'll be there.
No, we demanding.
Wait, y'all talking about demanded? Did I not already ask?
I believe so.
We talked about this at Juneteenth.
Yeah,
I got a whole meeting.
They gonna be.
But yeah, they did.
Talking about demanded.
Because we match your passion, right? You know what I'm saying? I want you to know that our passion just is equivalent to yours, but
I got my pen.
we got to get stations out there. We have stations for jobs. We want to be able to have a station for young entrepreneurs. So my whole thing is like, I want those who say they're other communities. It's deeper than just getting a lot of people there for that day.
In a place.
And I'm no better. What I'm saying is we're learning how to do it differently this year with Kicking It with Dads. We had a good group of people there, and then we walked off. So my whole thing is like, when we're hot, we want to keep going. It's no different from anything else. So my whole thing is like, when you're in the community, it may be my event, but we need to pay it forward to the next person's event, because I can sit down now and help back you and plan for the next one, and we just keep rolling. But so many people got this sense of ownership and don't do shit.
That's right.
If that makes sense. Okay. So my whole thing is, you can't tell me nothing about Columbia because I think it's mine. You understand? I came from here, I'm here, I'm that. So if you here and you're not representing what's mine, right? And I feel as if though I know somebody I can do it better, I'm not even gonna talk to you, I'm just gonna go get it done. And the people will speak for that. So my whole thing is, I put that on Facebook today. Like, if it's about social media, you can keep it. Count me out. It's just I don't want it, because my whole thing is like it's smoke and mirrors. But my whole thing is it's in the city. We need to get back in the city. So And like Sis said, it's a method to madness.
We don't sit around, and we never, even when we said that we were going to come bring it and talk about music, and we came out and we start posting pictures, and you see branding everywhere, and we're all over the place. We're talking to different people. It's not for decoration.
No,
it's not because we're looking to be seen. Yeah, it makes me sick sometimes. But it does. But it's also to connect it to network. Had we not been at Juneteenth and talking, had we not stopped and talked to you, had you not gone, hey, I've seen you before, and then you came over, and Jazz was like, oh, we do. Let me tell you something. I want that pen. And then when you walk around with it, it's everywhere. When I went to the funeral, I had the mask on. If you do not start walking around and talking to people, you don't know. But it's conversations that trigger stuff, because since we knew you were coming, we went to research stuff. Now we digging and looking. Right. Now we're looking at ballots.
2 hours. Anyway.
I was fussing for 2 hours.
Well, I'm trying to do my job. I'm caring about all these stats of what didn't come up, because every privileged conversation coming out, I was like, yo, it's so much I knew that they were going to school us on tonight. And I knew it wasn't just the Roe versus Wade. Like, we can bring that up because that's the other everybody want to talk about. Yeah. But I was like, yo, you got to go.
It's deeper. It's so much deeper. That's just what's popular.
It's way deeper.
That's just the topic
That's
today.
The topic of today.
Poverty has been the topic for 50 years.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
But that, like the stuff she was pulling up and she was sending me today, I was like, ain't no way in hell.
Because it clicked different, but
it's right there for everybody to see, because she found it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it took no time to find. And just like what you were looking at, I had it here. It was a day, because I keep seeing Thigpen's name pop up. It was one day in church, I will never forget it, before COVID. He made the comment that when they say the doors of the church are now open, people think that means for people to come in. The problem is we don't realize that's for people to go out. And nobody wants to go out. Nobody wants to go out to the people. Nobody wants to talk to people. Nobody wants to educate. I just sat right here and asked you just now, Jess, what is that? Because I've never seen that before, what that was. Right. But it makes you start to look at different things and learn what the purpose is and learn what these things are, because I remember being in school and the guidance counselors pushing Black kids to go to tech for 2 years and into a college. I remember walking around, like you said, what they had in school. If you weren't getting hot food at home, the school was. But now you got a whole different ball game going right now. Was that stuff to be healthy, or is it stuff that saved money and that money is going other places? I've seen people go out there and vote. Oh, that name sounds Black. Oh, that name sounds like this.
Sounds Black.
But then you're on the internet posting and you're like,
that's Democrat.
Yes.
Or it's Democrat.
They don't even know the person's about.
But then you're on the internet and you're looking like, oh, that's so ghetto that they're fighting in there. But you voted for them. Did you know who you were putting in before you did it?
Hold up. Listen, damn it. If you're tired of your politician being all in the video, all the cookout getting the last piece of chicken, get your ass out and vote. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I had a young lady tell me one time, this was during the president, it was the Jamie Harris and the Biden. She said, yeah, I voted for her because she sounded like a Black woman.
They say, and it happens.
And I was like, yeah, she is Black, but and there was a car full of young women. They said they voted for this person because she sounded like a Black woman. And so that's true. That's how sometimes people look at it, you know.
That's a hard way to say I made a major decision, but we don't realize when we go back and we post, because the topic of today on your timeline is what just went down. You put them in there. You fussing about somebody you picked. Half of us were like, I can't believe Alvin Green did this, but you did it.
But see, it comes to that, like, where I went out there and I stood in line for an hour and casting my vote, and the person I wanted to win lost. That's why I was like, my vote didn't matter. Yeah. I'm just saying that's how that makes you feel. Yeah. But it's 100,000 people who sat at home who didn't go vote, who's thinking my vote didn't matter, which could have changed that fucking result.
Right.
But when I go out there and do vote and my person doesn't win, it's like, I ain't going next year. What's the point of me standing in line for a whole damn hour and my person didn't even go fucking win?
Right. But that's when the politician comes in to say, hey, we'll try back again. That's what I'm saying, keeping that ball rolling.
I went
to show your face in the community.
Bro, I went to Summit Parkway Middle School, 6th grade year. And one of our administrators, Alvin Porter, I'll never forget this man. I don't remember Mr. Forte. I don't remember what he was running for, but that man lost he didn't give a damn. Every year he came back and got more votes and more because he was, I'm gonna make a change. Consistency is what he was about. He didn't give up, but there's plenty of people who voted for him before didn't go back. Like, I'm tired of voting for this man. He's not winning.
And how important is it for y'all? And that's good, but that's relatable. What I want to say.
Yeah.
How important is for y'all to get this message out there? You don't have to be a politician to change your community.
Yeah.
The same as the ISS teacher trying to change his community. Maybe it's because it's 2 laws he didn't agree with, but he put his name in the hat. The gall to have the audacity to do that
He was in that
and still dismiss somebody to get laughed at as kids who don't know, but still soon will understand. Like, you don't have to be.
He was trying.
You don't have to have a PhD to change your community.
I was in the 6th grade when I was with him. I was so proud when I could finally vote. I didn't give a damn what he was about. I just knew he was trying to make that change.
Yeah.
When I could finally vote for that man, and he didn't win, I was pissed because he's been trying since I was in the 6th grade.
That's
Yeah.
long
He needs to
coming
get
too.
another campaign, man.
You know what?
I'm sorry.
Whoever Mr. Dooley is, call me
like
and maybe we
being
can work out
wrong.
something.
Mr. 14
Mr.
chilling.
14,
Yeah, I
Mr. 14,
Mr.
hit me
14
up.
chilling at this point.
I feel you sleep
We
on
need to
it.
get him.
Well, he's
I'm trying to-
he's like a jailhouse. But that you really know that's like with me, right? People like with Jazz too, with both of us, they be like, "Are y'all Democrat, Republican? We neither one. We independent.
Yeah, see,
We're not a part of a party." Because at the end of the day, even with the work we do now, it's so many people ask both of us when y'all gonna run. Like I feel like if God say, "I want you to run,"
That's right.
I'ma run. But in
Ooh,
the
he said
meantime,
God said.
he's telling me
That's the truth.
put in the work. Like I had to tell one guy that was running for governor. I said, "Bro, stop out the race. Nobody know you, and put in the work first."
Yeah.
Like so, if somebody
Like Miko, that's a good
5
example.
years from now, if God says, "Oh, I want you to run for mayor," right? And this not even boasting on myself.
Yeah, no, this is
Just
just
saying my
facts.
track record.
Yeah,
They would be like,
what you want to look
he
for.
been in prisons ministry. He was a gospel hip hop artist. He did youth ministry. He was in the schools. He was in the community. It's not one lane that we're not tapping into
And
already.
it's not for us to
Right.
run for office.
Even when
It's just
the
that's what you
schools that
look
we're
for.
working in, these children will never forget what you poured into them.
Yeah.
So 5 years from now, them gonna be the ones old enough to vote. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day,
You're getting a head start, bro.
yeah.
But that's the smart. They go for the head start. They get the ones that are
Yeah.
young coming in. We are so busy fighting with the people who, like she said, do vote.
Mhm.
They go and get the people. Trump did that. He went out to the places of people who don't vote. He went out to the trailers. He went to the, not saying he was right,
No. I'm just
but
saying
he
the
dug
things-
out.
The things Trump was able to do that you're not supposed to be able to do
Was unprecedented.
was unprecedented and astounding.
Yes.
That's
Because
why,
he found a way to put people in spots
yeah.
to where he can get away with shit. And that all came with who he backed when people had to go vote.
And
He
that's,
was like, yo, I need the governor of Texas to do this so I can put Crystal here so I can get my son to be in office. You ain't supposed to have your son in office?
The boy got his own water.
but see,
But the
we
things he was
talking
able to
about
do is that serious.
a lot of young people voted for Trump because first he wasn't a politician, and then Trump was a thug.
He was.
If Trump said what he wanted to say, no filter, and a
His
lot of
own
people
money.
looked at Donald Trump like he was real. And I'm gonna tell you another thing: a lot of people gave Trump
Can't be mad
credit
with that.
that stuff that Obama was already bringing into play. Every time I see guys who just getting out of federal prison, oh yeah, Trump let me out. Nah, bro, Obama was already
Obama-
trying to
He laid
bring
them
that-
bricks.
Yeah. So it just came
Which
to
was
play
extremely hurtful.
when Trump
too.
became
Jesus.
president.
Yeah.
Right.
So Trump ate out the benefits of Obama.
Obama's
And everybody thought, oh, Trump did this, Trump did. Nah, bro, Obama
Yeah.
was already
He
doing
was
that.
putting in work.
Changing
those
the
things.
85%.
Trump was blocking a lot of Obama
65%.
stuff, too.
Nah,
Yeah.
that-
He had a lot of complaints. But how many times
He
did
took
we see them do
Obamacare and
that?
make it Trump care.
How many times do we see the next president either suffer from the last or eat off the
Yeah.
last?
Every time.
Oh,
Every time.
every time.
Every time.
Because it's all.
Let's go back to
plotted
this.
Because
out.
you got some
Office.
some can use what you got. It's like a used car. I don't need this part. I don't need this part. I'm gonna go with this. So I'm sorry.
Do y'all ever have plans to run in the future? Do you feel that's coming for you, or you do?
Yeah, we feel like already like.
All right,
we
we
need
got
to-
Hold up now. Don't.
You already talking
It
about.
ain't that I feel like it.
Tell you right now, you
Let
decided to
me
make the
clear
choice,
it out.
though.
Yeah.
Because of what we talked
Yeah.
about at Juneteenth and everything.
Yeah.
And I know y'all done the reason you do the work. Tell y'all right now, I don't usually do this, but y'all got my vote.
Don't be like Mr. Portia. Don't get it. He gonna come find us.
But if I see that name on the ballot, I'm gonna feel good because I know these people put in the fucking work.
And that's what he's saying, though.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna feel
like Mr. Portia put in the work. I felt good. Like I want him.
Yeah.
I felt good.
And
So
we should
But
we
I
need
said
to
it's
work
right
to make
too.
everyone
It's
feel
right
that
for
way
him.
going
Right.
to the polls.
That's true. That's
You get what I'm
you
saying?
tell me if you
Everyone should
plan,
feel
just
that
not today's just not
I'm
the
gonna
day
be
for you.
honest with you. Like I remember in 2010, right?
Yes. Okay.
That's when I got saved. And I had a dream that I was
I
making.
know. And let's talk about that.
And this before I even walked in a campaign. I didn't even vote yet. I just maxed out my probation in 2008.
So that was God letting you know He's planning
So
for you
God was,
already.
and then where I'm at now, sometimes I sit back like, wow, God, you showed me the dream in 2010. I didn't know how that was. I didn't know no politicians. I didn't know no community organizer.
Mhm.
I didn't know. I just knew.
And now
street
you marrying
people.
both.
You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Look at
Yeah,
God.
and then I end up meeting Jazz when I worked on the campaign.
I was
Like
the
I
boss.
said, I got the
You know the
insight.
son they find favor when they find a
And
wife,
light
right?
came
telling
on, and then me and Jazz started talking. And then
You didn't tell him I was the boss.
Yeah, she was my boss. I always tell people like she'd be my boss lady.
It's so funny.
This
when
is
you
coming
say-
for him though. I bag the boss, baby.
It really is. I always tell him that.
Yeah.
But you should've said something
never
sooner.
had said nothing to me on the
But we
job.
can't cross
Like,
that line.
the boss.
You was the boss.
Like, to be honest, I ain't think.
Trump said you can break all the rules. I don't know why y'all ain't listening.
You know,
I definitely would have had him in my
I was a worker. I ain't think I was on your level. I'm just a little
Now
worker.
look at you. I
But you
got a
don't
whole
even know.
politician.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And that's my baby. And he was the best organizer too. I'm gonna throw that out there. Like we met on Tom Steyer, right? And so, like he said, like we didn't cross any lines, right? Like we barely even talked because there were layers of people in between us
Right.
to get to him, right? But I always heard his name. And I was like, oh yeah, the Canzater kid. He's the one that got the most this that day. He's the one that did the most this that day. He was the, you know,
to get it now.
so yeah, but so I always did hear about him, and I knew and he'll tell you. I think it was one day the guy that got him into campaigns. I told him, I said I'm gonna have him on my team one day, and I meant that outside of Tom Steyer. I didn't know he was gonna end up engaged,
Right.
but I saw like that he was like really into this. Like he really did the work. Like when we say go knock doors, he was knocking doors. When we say make calls, he making calls. He got the most commit to vote cards. You know, things like that. Like come back 30 commit to vote cards when the goal was 5. You know, things like that. And so that showed me I think that was my thing from God to be like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be a good partner for you because y'all can do this together. You get what I mean? So I think he kind of showed me like, oh, okay, no, he real deal. Because I always told God I'll be single before I be with somebody that can't serve, right?
Right.
So
Say that again. Did you hear that?
Come on, get in, bro.
I'll be
Bring
single
the beat
before
back.
I'll be with someone who can serve.
No, I like it.
That's a big one because if you working and they not working
That's
with
all
you,
I
then you
do.
dragging.
Yeah, all I do. I mean, I don't want to say all day, like pretty much. Like it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, Sunday, we have something, you know, and whether that's ministry or it's community. And
That's your weekend.
we
So I know you
love
put in
it.
work.
And we love it though, because we have the lounge.
But when you're doing what you
and all that
love, it
stuff.
ain't work.
No, that's what I keep
life.
saying. Like
I mean,
it's just life.
So-
Like
so-
it's just our life.
So what y'all got
much.
coming up next? You say every weekend y'all have some. What's next?
Yeah,
what's
so
this next big thing?
We got the Christian Lounge coming up, like the Christian Lounge in
This weekend,
Columbia.
July weekend?
No, we just passed last week was the lounge day, right?
Yeah.
For this month.
So
Yeah.
the Christian Lounge,
Go ahead, I'll
we
tell
on
you.
the tour right
We do
now
community
called Love
feedings,
Thy
too.
Neighbor Tour.
That's big.
Yeah.
To see at the end of the day, a lot of people see events that me and Jazz do, right? And be like, yo, why do y'all events be so successful and y'all make the impact y'all make? Because
That's the reason why
even
we do it.
when I first got in the campaign, I said, they missing one thing, God.
He taught me that. That's
You know
no
what
lie.
I
He
mean?
did.
I'm like, everybody wants to talk about making the change, but taking the one that can change things out of the picture. Like I said, before I got involved in the campaigns, I was already doing outreach ministry, you know, pushing salvation, saving the community,
Okay, cool.
souls, you know what I mean? But then once I got with Tom, Steyer campaign, it was like, okay, even when I got with Tom, I had to make sure what's his faith, what do he believe? You know what I mean? Because I'm big on my faith. So, and I love everybody. I don't care what you believe in, but can two walk together unless they agree? You know what I mean? So I had to make sure that he was a believer of my Savior. And then when I saw that, I was like, okay, boom, check. But we always keep God in everything that
Even
we
with
do.
the names.
When we doing these events for the Get Out the Vote,
God.
our entertainment is gospel, because when it comes to the music, we already know music play a big part of our culture. You know what I mean? So even with the stuff that's going on, a lot of politicians, when they come, when it comes to the people concerns, they like, how you gonna change the gun violence? How you gonna change this? How you gonna change that? To be honest, they can't change God's agenda.
That's right.
If God say, I want this to go, if God say this is already written, my prophecy's been fulfilled, then how they gonna change it without connecting to the true source, which is God? You know what I mean? So with the Christian Lounge, we got the Love Thy Neighbor tour. That's taking it back to the basic. We're going in the heart of the community.
Come back to that basic one.
We're not waiting for the community to come to us. Like we did the Love Thy Neighbor tour in the Bishop on the bridge. And people's like, I was in the Bishop.
Y'all going to the Bishop? Oh, we ain't going out there.
We
ain't going out there, but we in the Bishop all the time.
Leader. I used to be in the Bishop. I'm from Crane Forest, the Bishop in Northeast Columbia.
And they're just like us. Please.
I used to be out there 100 deep, walking the streets. Now I go out there 50 to 100 deep, a bunch of believers, and we serving food. We're doing giveaways. We've been to Bishopville, so now God has blessed us with a building. You know, so what we got coming up next, now we just sitting back.
We're doing the feedings and stuff too. I want to let them know, like, we do a community feeding every Tuesday, downtown, at, oh goodness, they moved. We used to be on Sumter Street, Christ Central, thank you. And then on Sundays, Freedom of the Met, we haven't been in a few weeks. Things kind of been like off, but they have church service, and then they serve food as well for the shelter community. So that's on Sundays. Tuesdays is the feeding.
We get this information from.
Yeah, we can put it on our page, basic Brothers and Sisters Improvement Communities on Facebook. Sure.
People gotta know.
They gotta know.
What y'all two are talking right now is some beautiful shit. I mean, stuff.
With the gangs, the new gangs movement, getting the new generation started. That's something that we got making. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna be dope, and that's pretty much like taking it back to. I believe a lot of these politicians can connect with our people because they don't speak our people language. They don't speak our community language. You know what I mean? That's like, even if you take it back to the church, a lot of preachers can't connect with the community because you can't go in the community and be like, look at your neighbor and say, high five 3 people. And they looking like, nah, you got to sometimes conform to their level, but not their language, but not to
like insult them.
Yeah, not insult them, but you just gotta know how to speak their language. Like with me, like this how I work with me and Jazz. Jazz is highly like book smart.
You are too.
I am too, but don't get me wrong. I'm the hood dude. You know what I mean? Right. I'm the hood dude.
I'm from Casey.
So I can show, like I have to tell her, hey, I'm from Casey. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm from the Met. I stayed in every project.
Oh God! Don't get him started.
When we organizing, we walk in these neighborhoods, like, and I'm walking up on the gangsters, the gangbangers on the corner, like, yo, bro, what's happening? That's the first we out here. Get out the vote room. They like, bro, you got it. Can I get one of them shirts? So like, that's like Taji Green at Benedict, the one that was the Black College All-Star.
Yeah,
The day I'm looking at the video, I said, boo, look at his shirt. He had a Black Waters Mountain shirt on.
I mean, I had to go find my wristband to make sure I was
proper today.
We gotta get y'all
like,
shirts.
We be out here. You know what I mean?
Sure, I make sure I keep this one fresh.
We got boxes.
Yeah, people always ask me, do I wear anything else? Because I keep BBM on.
You do.
I wear it every day. I mean,
Yeah.
I
And it
wear
ain't the
BB.
same shirt.
It's not the same shirt, but I do wear it every day because the message is so important. And I
It
think
is.
the more people see it, the more they be like, "Oh wait, what?" Because people love to wear it. I need people to like
Do it.
like own it.
Be who
If
you
that
are.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I need
perfect.
folks to own that they matter, so that then it's like, okay, once we like, that's just one part of building power. It's like once they realize like it's within us, right? Like, oh, you telling me what? Okay, because BBM they feel like we matter. 300 is Black voters matter every day, everywhere, 365 days a year. You know, so not just during elections, not just when you need us to go do something for you. Like we matter, like with Denmark, we matter when our water has been poisoned. Like we matter right now. We matter at Sumter, same thing. I don't know if y'all know about them. Their water has been affected as well. Like we have
Not like Flint.
yeah, like Flint.
Them
We
Yeah,
got
we
the
have so
third
many.
worst water.
We have so many
country,
water
bro.
crises in South Carolina.
Denmark.
Things that we really need to just
Yeah,
be
Denmark
made
is
aware of.
terrible. Denmark's going for a while.
But
When
we can
is-
send $14 billion over to a country that ain't.
Yeah, but we can't even get a pallet of water in Denmark.
But we can send $14 billion.
That's right.
I'm gonna tell you what we did. Cause see, that's when it goes to the point.
That's where
We
your
can't
vote,
depend on.
We're
that's
taking
why
it to
your
our
vote
own
does
hand.
matter, y'all.
You
That's
can't
why it
depend
matters.
on the people in the suite.
Hold on, honey. About Denmark. Denmark, the water crisis, I gotta I always like to give these facts so people understand how bad it is. It's been 10 years. They have the highest infant mortality rate in the world. They are dying in clusters because of, guess what? The water. So you have mothers dying and you have babies dying before they're even born.
So what's the
And the mayor owns a funeral.
Yeah. So it's a big money for him.
I really didn't want to cut you off,
That's a conflict.
but I had to drop that because I don't want to say people don't understand, because I think sometimes
They
people
ain't
just
look like
don't know.
us.
You get what I'm saying? So,
That's what I was thinking.
They can't focus on understanding.
Yeah.
Everything got their attention.
And he look like us.
so I think, yeah, he does. And I think you were about to tell him what about the ride to register,
so
ride to
we did.
mobilize. Yeah,
And early
Cause
vote.
this when you gotta, when it comes back to
taking it.
us as a people, you don't have to be a politician to organize your community. So what we did, we connected with 4 different car clubs, right? So we had about 150 to 200 cars to go down there at car club. So we did a mobile car show.
And
I
water
asked
distribution.
Each car to put 5 cases of
That's
water in
huge.
the trunk.
Water is
Or more.
big.
So then,
And we had a
my
trailer full, yeah.
of water,
That's a
and the
conversation
back
to
of the
have
truck
to go
full of
back
water,
up to
Ram
Denmark
truck.
for water.
So
It
now
is.
we got all this water, and we just rode through Denmark.
And we took it right to
laying
him.
on the horn. People come outside,
get your case of water.
Took it to him.
cases of water.
Same way they did when we had that flood and everybody was going these pallets of
Yeah.
water, but
Yeah.
that's big to
But-
take that water
But
to
that was from
Denmark.
Yeah,
FEMA.
and
That
they
wasn't
even-
community, though.
Yeah.
They were
But we
more.
can do that as
I'm
a
saying-
community.
Oh, we can do that easily. Like we put that stuff together. Like we work together. Like, and it really needs to be done. I want to say, I wish we could do it weekly, but I think bi-weekly would be fair enough. But what I don't like and what aches my heart is that, one, there are people right here probably in the shopping center don't even know. I don't even want to say the city.
You
It's
ain't
like, you
lying.
get what I'm saying? Like it's people in the state that have no idea about Denmark.
I
Until
definitely
earlier this
know.
week.
I
Right.
definitely
was
challenge
earlier
all these
Nah,
groups that are
it's-
out
it's
here, all these people with all these promoting, all these groups that are out here with all these different events that are trying to, like you talked about, getting pictures and then making sure that people know you. That's not a bad idea to have a moment where people do sign up and bi-weekly take your group out there and give out water.
That's right.
That's massive, because you can't sit there and complain about Flint if you won't even help the people down street in your own area.
That's
They
right.
are in driving distance of us.
They really are.
And
that's
this
the thing.
is Voorhees is there. There are colleges out there.
Boy, he's
And-
in Denmark.
He's in Denmark Tech, and we can get out there to that, but we haven't.
They couldn't even shower in the water. That's
Yeah.
how crazy.
Yeah.
And
And
that
it-
all comes back to the point of our conversation. Voting the right
Voting.
person.
Yeah, because Deanna Milliberry, she ran out there and ran for mayor, and I mean she lost by that many votes. Like, and I say that many because it's so few that I can't even remember. It's that few, not hundreds, not 100,
It was like 35
not 80
votes.
votes. Yeah, something
Because
like
it's a runoff
15 to
at
30
first, right,
votes.
Boo?
Yeah, she did get a runoff. But yeah, it was just too close. And then she was just like one of those candidates where it was just like, you already know she needs to be the one in there. Like, but then you have all those powers that be that are, stronger than what she had built. So again, it just goes back to us, when we do have people that step up, going back to molding candidates, if we're not molding them, but if we have someone that we can vet and they did step up, like I said, Deanna She's not one of those people who was like, I want to be a politician from day one. She ran because of an issue, because she wanted to be the person that, took a stand. And so that's going back to what you asked about us running. Same with him. I'm not running unless God tell me to. He's been putting me in positions and in rooms.
He's running.
You know, Zoe is. I'm talking about myself.
God say do it.
It's coming.
He can do it.
It's coming. He knows it's
I'm
coming.
gonna stay in the community. I'm
Nah,
gonna stay here all day.
I'm gonna be
You never know.
on the valley.
You never know. God might tell you, like June, July 1st.
But we don't know.
Only thing about it, see, I'm gonna tell you how dirty politics is. Like, that's why I be transparent about my testimony, my story, where I come from.
Right.
Because if you try to get in there and
act like you're squeaky,
They'll dig
it up.
They're gonna dig it up.
Mom, okay. Make a video about this and they go broadcast it. Everybody looking like, oh, what? Nah, I tell
Clutching
people.
their pearls.
Yeah, I've been told you I did.
So whatever you go bring out, they're gonna be like, oh, we already know that he used to be a gang leader. We know this, we know that. So and they
on your life.
God, like, I need to.
You was who you was for you guys.
Hey, he's a real American. He's been high. He's been broke. He's been stabbed. This is why he know how to make. That's how he know how to make the change.
I think.
I heard what I was saying about you, bro, was when he said you don't have to be a politician to make a change. That's what I said about my big bro. He don't want to be a politician, but he's in the works right now to make a change in his community.
That's dope.
You got 501c3?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
At the end of the day,
how'd you get that, Hurt?
He would a 501c3, right? That's pretty much like with us. We're basic, like we're pretty much like people gonna say they put in that work, and we're not running. It's to the point that the politicians have to come to us. They really do. Because they see the work that we're doing.
That's huge.
The same play we got, bro.
Yeah,
same play we got, bro.
They see you know how to move the people.
Yes, that's same play. My whole thing is like, do your thing. We know what we're going over here to serve because we're from this. We pretty much got an idea of what's needed, and what we don't know, we're pretty much accessible to make that change. If we don't, we got access to somebody. So my whole thing is like, we don't really need the suits. Even when we go speak to the kids, man, my whole thing is like, I used to go in the suit and it seemed like I was over the head. When I started coming in with Air Max and a little bit of Jordans, but talking to lingo and then hitting them a little bit, it got off a little smoother. So my whole thing is like, I just want the people in the community to understand that us as individuals are a platform. Like CTS is a platform for anything that's going on in the community, whether it be entrepreneurship. We're here for y'all. We work for y'all. We just like politics too. Y'all tell us what's going on. We get the messages out. So that's just dope, man.
You know, I tell people though, not to cut you off. A lot of people say, I don't do politics. I say, the politics do you. Because everything around, I even tell the music artists, bro, you know how South Carolina don't have a big label here? Because of politics. Real talk. Because they have funding out there for music and arts. You feel me? So at the end of the day, if y'all don't vote and use your voice to say, we got so much musical talent here,
makes me sick.
Like, we need this here for South Carolina. We need better opportunities for people that do music.
There's a lot of money.
So how you think with Atlanta is the way that it is with the music. Because even if you go back to music, hip hop even starting off as like revolutionary music, where people like pretty much the way we talking now, the hip hop music told people like, fight the power, use your rights. That's the power. It's gonna be what's selling them. Yeah, like use it. So now you got the music. That's why even with Georgia, I'm gonna tell you what moved the young people when the Lil Baby came out with that song, with Black.
Bigger Than Black and White.
Yes, when he came out with that song, because he's a big icon for our community, that made a lot of young people open their eyes. Like,
I mean, that's the same thing that happened though with Obama when Jeezy dropped "My President Is Black."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, my president.
Hey, let me tell you something. That song came out before he got voted, but the day he got voted in,
it was in the street.
It was the perfect anthem.
I was my man got he had a little spot at the crib, I was in his car. Nigga had a nice Charger sitting on 22. Had all four windows down, blasting "My President Is Black."
That was a great day.
It was a great day.
It was an accomplishment, but it's work to be done. I know
We need to
that
do
normally
it
we
again.
do an hour, but I won't lie. I
Oh.
wanted this conversation to go an hour and 30. Truth be told, there's a
And we
method
attended a
behind the
good break at
madness.
the beginning, so it wasn't gonna go any longer.
But I wanted it long today because even though while we were talking today, Jazz and I have been pushing everything on this screen. It has shown everything that's coming up in November, every name, different areas, just to raise the awareness of who you're looking for or who to look out for when you see things and who to research. The reason for today was to download into people what we have coming up so we know early voting is available. So if you got something coming up that's not going to make you available on the 8th, look into early voting so you can know if you can get in there early to get your voting knocked out so that your numbers and your word count. Tonight was important because we don't pay attention enough. You tonight educated people about Denmark that probably did not know. You tonight raised awareness that I don't care what your history past, your life has looked like. You are not counted out because you had a season or an experience. You can still do what you got to do. But the bigger piece of it is own your life. Own it, because can't nobody throw nothing at you that you've owned and accepted within yourself. Ain't nothing I ever did that I don't own. And that's where we all need to be. That way, when someone tries to throw something at you, they can't hit you with it because I own it. This was me. And you still going to reach the people because at this point, we are sick of dressed up people. We want real. I want you to come at me as you are. Don't change your dialect because you feel like you need to become more articulate. Be who you are because you reach people the way that you are.
I don't want to say it can backfire, but it can because
The code switching. Is that,
that
isn't
part
that
too.
what they
But I was
call
gonna
it?
say that's
or
exactly who
something?
Donald Trump was.
I think
He
that's what
didn't
they
change
call
it who he
it.
was.
We
He
just
switched
watched
up.
everything
I'm
that
just
we
saying, that's
everything
exactly
that
who
we
he
It's
told-
the
was.
same all the time.
Everything that
Yeah.
we've
I'm
been
talking to
told
them,
you
they
should
change
not
the
be.
paper.
to a vote.
We watched somebody
Talking
do
the
it
same.
and watched them dominate the news with
He
it.
was the bully.
They said to be ladylike. Ain't his wife been naked half the time?
All the time.
All I'm saying is that you can be who you are and still do it because some people cater to the fact that you are different.
Or genuine.
Yeah.
And
The
you're gonna be who you gonna be.
the radicals get it. So the end of the story is don't ever let somebody tell you what you need to be or how you need to be painted to win. Because like you said, if God tell you go for it, he didn't tell Noah to go out there and get animals. He brought them animals to him. All you got to do is what he said do for you. So tonight was important. Research who to vote for.
Make a plan.
Make a plan. Know your area. Take some water to Denmark. But look at what is
real.
necessary because
Thank you.
you can't complain and post about fixing other people's problem like we don't like what's going on with the Ukraine and sending all that money over. If you
Issues
won't
right
help
here.
something that's less than a 2-hour drive away from your own house.
It's less than an hour.
Less than an hour.
It's literally 50 minutes or so.
Like
I don't like that example. I'm sorry.
Too though, like
I don't like that example, man.
the Ukraine.
Which one?
I don't like because exactly the shit that Denmark is, like you said, an hour away, and their water's fucked up. But we will send $14 billion
Yeah.
to people who are over 10,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Like,
But you got.
But I buy 6
It's
cases of water
horrible.
from my house. I can easily take cases of water to Denmark.
going
I
to
may not
Denmark-
fix
going to
Ukraine, but I can
Denmark
fix
before
Denmark.
it's easy.
And-
How do we fix the fact that our politicians need to make sure they take care of home
first.
before? I don't want to
That's
sound like I don't want
accountability.
to help other countries. I do want to help other
Start
countries.
doing it.
You're
Because
right.
they'll follow.
I do want to help other countries, but
Start
not
doing
when my own country is suffering.
Imagine if 100 cars right now did a water parade in Denmark and everybody went. The
beautiful.
politicians would
That's
follow
beautiful.
it
Yeah.
because they
That
follow
cars is not gonna
popularity.
cost us $14 billion when you motherfuckers have the nerve to ask me to pay my student loans.
But it might save 14 lives because she said they had the highest mortality rate for infants. I can't,
It's crazy.
I
That's
don't,
horrible.
it's sometimes you
very
have to
bad.
be able to focus on saving that one, then you are complaining about what they're doing with the others.
And can I say what a need is for Denmark too? Like, because we can like organize the ride outs and stuff. But the thing is, like, I've been looking for are businesses that will allow their places to be drop offs for cases of water. So what I've been trying to do is create like a graphic with 5 or so businesses across the city, so that no matter what part of the city you're in, you can
Go
get
pick it
water
up.
and you can drop water off, at this location, and then we can get all that water together on a date and then deliver it, if that makes sense. So
You let us
that's
know
kind of
when
the
and where.
plan that I felt like would be most effective. So if you
30
are a
cases,
small
30
business or
cases.
know a
Sure
small
will.
business that would allow it to be like a drop off spot for about 3 weeks, because we normally do the water drive for about 3 weeks and then we go out That makes sense. So
Yeah.
we buy a lot of the water, but a lot gets donated as well. But yeah, so that's
When's the
one
next
of
water
the
drive?
needs that we're
donate
looking
30
for.
cases.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Okay,
We'll do
let's
30
do that.
cases.
We probably looking
Next July.
next month, July.
Yeah.
We can do it like, cause I gotta reach out.
If you are interested in donating for the water drive that Basic will be doing next month, please send us a message. You can email us at conversationsthatsuit@gmail.com. You can DM us at conversationsthatsuit or personally. Jazz, Alonzo, I will get with you all to let you know. We will make our location here or wherever we meet at the Converse Space, or even Kicking It with Dads coming up in August.
Yeah.
We will make different places, drop off spots, and get with you
And
guys.
drinking the water and giving to people, we're gonna make sure you register to vote.
That's right. We do all of that at the same time because we didn't take the name of that. We usually call it either a ride to register. So we're either riding out to register voters, and then we call it a ride to mobilize. So we're either riding out to mobilize voters or riding out to mobilize around the issue. If that makes sense. So we have those two different, things that we kind of use to ride out. But
Columbia made
MSNBC, yeah, they made national news.
Man, we had like 300 cars.
It was crazy.
Hey, brag on yourself. Don't feel bad. Brag on yourself. That is beautiful.
Crazy.
Brag on yourself.
We brought y'all so much tonight. Tonight, we brought you a lot of information to sit down and process and talk about at work, at the water cooler, no pun intended,
Yeah.
at the dinner table, everywhere, but talk about voting. Some of us got teenage children. Talk to these recent or soon to be graduates about voting. Explain to them about different things. Talk to your children about the benefits that we take for granted. Talk to your families about what we can do, because we can jump today about the bullshit, but we do not jump as fast as we should for the real. And that's where that's where you separate the men from the boys, the girls from the women. That's the reality. So tonight's conversation was a grown-up conversation. Wasn't the fun stuff about R. Kelly's and the who's and the whys.
That boy did get 30 years today.
But it was a real conversation about
Talk to your neighbors.
what impacts here. So talk to your neighbors, talk to your church members, talk to your school. Do what we have to do, that when November happens, the change that we want to see starts with us. Anything else that we're wrong?
The main thing.
Black Voters Matter
Yeah, I was reading the
Fund.
bottom of your show.
BlackVotersMatterFund.org.
So you get all the info.
Or you can visit our Instagram or Twitter, which is basic_SC, and we're Brothers and Sisters in Improving Communities on Facebook. And that's how you can follow us. And then the last thing I want to say is just make sure you make a plan to vote. I know November seems far away, but let's make sure we start making a plan to vote, and then also just making a list of other folks that we're going to take to the polls with us. Like, let's beat the odds, and let's surprise them, right? Let's do the opposite of what they think that we're going to do, which is stay home, and let's get out and let's go vote. If you need any information, like, my name's Jazz Johnson. She's so organized on Instagram and Twitter.
Send me your stuff and I'll make sure I share it.
And also reach out to your little cousins that's in the streets, that's over 18. If they're not registered, get them registered.
Or they can be 17 now and be 18.
Yeah, if they're gonna turn 18 before November.
That's right.
But the ones 19, 20, 19 and 25 that's in the streets, reach out to them, get them registered, and tell their homeboys, and that's how we're gonna make the difference, is when we go to these polls. If we can go to a concert, thousands of us. Imagine if thousands of us went to vote in November.
We terrified.
We're gonna.
They
would
terrified.
Sarah, if 2,000 of us show up right now, all of a sudden, 3 machines don't work.
Right. There you go. Voter suppression.
Yeah.
We ain't even cover that.
It's
That's a
gonna be
whole nother
Don't worry,
conversation.
because one thing for sure, two things for certain. Y'all gonna be back.
Season 2 coming.
And I'm not asking, I'm telling. Closer to November, you will see us again. We will mention who you're voting for, what, different ways to find it. Make sure you all get registered. Make sure we get t-shirts. On that day, we'll all have on Jazz's shirt.
Yeah.
But we are going to do our part to assist, from the water drive to making sure that people are registered, to having you guys at events that we have, to ensure you help people register, just to make sure that we all stand together with what we say, because we can't say it and not do it. That's not gonna work. But that being said, hold on, because these two. Before we go,
August 20th, Kicking It with Dads.
they do this every time. Wait.
No, I just want to thank Jazz and Alonzo for coming through. The information y'all gave tonight was needed.
Yes.
It's beautiful. And I want to big y'all up because y'all wasn't scrambling for answers. Y'all knew y'all shit. Both of you. I'm just talking about, like, there's a lot of people on they stumble, man. Y'all knew y'all shit. You know exactly what the message you wanted to get across. Thank y'all so much.
They like church people. When you're ready to go from church, they don't want to walk out yet. Again.
Jesus gave me another message to give you.
Right. I can't debate that.
So, you said church people. Jesus gave me another message to bring to the people, which was he's informed these two young individuals of what they need to know and how to give it to everybody else.
I
Fight me on that.
I can't.
Okay.
So listen, what I will say is this, especially he gave us a word. Right, church talking. I will say this. I don't care how perfectly imperfect we may be, where the sound is right, cameras are rolling. The conversation today was needed. And after hearing what we've heard today, I fully understand why. A, the earthquake, because we shook some stuff up, and B, the delay, because what we said needed to be heard. And the best way to silence people is to discourage them. And that did not happen today. So good night, good talk, great conversations. Because we done told you how the devil works. Go vote.
Go vote, y'all.
Go tell me how you gonna use